Nearly 6% of students will have tried marijuana by the time they graduate high school, according to Nora D. Volkow in an article on drugabuse.gov in 2012. This statistic honestly surprised me. Unfortunately, the popularity of marijuana has gone way up, and I want this to change. Marijuana is bad for us in many different ways. Although people say it is natural and less dangerous than drinking alcohol, there are many different factors that prove why we should all stay away from it. I feel that marijuana has become extremely popular among teens and young adults, and I want people to realize why they should not use this drug. It can have a very negative effect on our brains. It can lead to mental illnesses, and it can cause problems in our daily lives. Many teens and young adults use this drug without thinking about the effects it has on our brain. At this time in our lives, our brains are not fully developed, and using marijuana can definitely affect it in a negative way. Using marijuana can impair short-term memory. For example, if a person is having a conversation, all of a sudden they can just completely forget what they were talking about. It can also have an effect on our judgment and perception, which can lead to many different issues, but car accidents being a major one. The Office of the Dean of Students at the University of Oregon stated in an article in 2013 that of 150 reckless drivers tested for drugs at the scene of an accident, 33% of them tested positive for marijuana. Now, many of those accidents probably could have been prevented had marijuana not been involved. Supporters of marijuana use argue that it relaxes them and that they're better able to think straight. But that's not true. It actually relaxes you too much, and especially relaxes the brain too much. The effects of this drug include difficulty thinking and problem solving, which definitely does not benefit the brain in any way. Marijuana can affect the brain in sort of a different way. It can lead to mental illnesses and other health issues. Using marijuana creates a temporary psychotic reaction. Depression and anxiety are also very common to develop when using marijuana. An article from the National Cannabis Prevention and Information Center in 2012 stated there is a strong evidence for depression developing if you chronically use marijuana in your life. The National Institute on Drug Abuse did a study in 2014 that showed there is a link between using marijuana and later developing psychosis. Patients with schizophrenia should most definitely stay away from this drug, as it can worsen your illness. Although some argue that marijuana is medicine, it is most definitely not. The marijuana plant contains tons of different chemical compositions, and these can all have a different effect and vary from plant to plant. For this reason, it is extremely hard to prove that marijuana can be used as medicine. Now, maybe not as extreme as mental illnesses, but marijuana can cause problems in your daily life, or cause problems to be even worse if you already had some. Smoking marijuana is expensive and can definitely have a toll on your finances. It can also lead to, as a gateway drug, lead to heavier drugs. People say that marijuana does not lead to heavier drugs, but in reality, there's actually two different possible ways that it can. If a person is scared to try marijuana, but does and ends up liking it, they'll probably be curious to try other drugs to see how that makes them feel. Also, over time, a person's level of euphoria they experience from marijuana will decline, and they'll want to try other drugs to re-experience that feeling again. According to Jeffrey DeSimone in an article in the Eastern Economic Journal in 1998. Now, some supporters say marijuana has an overall positive effect on their life, but it doesn't. Users probably feel this way because of the carefree feeling that it gives you. For this reason, these negative effects often come about even stronger and with more burden once the drug wears off. Although marijuana is becoming more and more popular, I want it to stay illegal because of the many different negative aspects it brings to your life. Throughout this speech, I have discussed why you should not use marijuana. Using this drug will affect your brain in many unnatural ways. It can lead to anxiety and depression, and it will affect your daily life, including causing you to go broke, taking away your enjoyment of certain activities, and possibly even lead to the use of stronger, more dangerous drugs. A person simply cannot reach their fullest potential in health or intelligence if they use this drug. So I encourage you to stay away from marijuana.